I said to myself, if I'm going to do Twitter, I should commit to it. There's a dip. And if I commit, I should figure out how to be really good at it. If I'm going to be really good at it, I'm going to have to give up something else. So what do I want to be less good at than I'm good at now so I could be good at Twitter? And I looked at what I thought would be the upsides of that. And I said, I don't want to give up anything I'm good at to be good at Twitter. Done. And I never have reconsidered it since because I don't need to. And there are other areas where I have said, you know what? I'm going to give up this part of my thing to do that thing instead. But we have to acknowledge we have finite resources, finite time, finite connections.
Yes.
How will we use them to produce outcomes that we're proud of? And the worst thing to do, in the words of Zig Ziglar, are to be a wandering generality. What you need to be is a meaningful specific. That means you have to claim it. You have to put yourself on the spot. You have to make a promise and say, I do this. You can count on me. That's what you're going to get from me. I went to business school with a guy who said he was waiting for the right moment to start his entrepreneurial venture. And that was 27 years ago.
Wow.
Right? That I started so many bad ones along the way, but sooner or later, you're going to stumble into one that you're glad you did. There's the external thing and the internal thing. The external thing is, this is our revolution. We live in this moment of time when anyone with $100 can connect to 1.5 billion people around the world anytime they want to. We live in this place where we each have more leverage and a bigger platform than any human on earth ever had before us. And internally, if not this moment, when? Right? That if we're not going to speak up now, are things going to be easier or better a year from now? We wait for things to calm down. We wait for it to be the right moment. But this is the right moment. That we look back a year in our life, 5 years ago, and we rarely say, I'm disappointed that I spoke up. I'm disappointed that I did my art. I'm disappointed that I connected to somebody. We don't. What we regret is not doing that. So here we are in this moment of high leverage, and all we can do is watch cat videos and whine about our boss. And I think we can do better than that. This whole calling passion thing is complete nonsense. It's, as Steve Pressfield would call it, the resistance.
Yes.
That Van Gogh, if he had been born 20 years later or 20 years earlier, he wouldn't have done what he did. It's not like some angel came down when he was born and said, you're going to become an impressionistic painter. He wanted to do a thing, but he didn't know what the thing was. And if Steve Jobs had been born 20 years earlier, he would have done a different thing. This isn't about waiting for the right answer, because there is no right answer. What there are challenges we can sign up for and emotions we can experience. There are kinds of engagements we can seek out and ones that we don't want to. If you're the kind of person that only feels good when all the chips are on red 86, well, then you need to go find that kind of activity. If you're the kind of person that would rather have a small circle of people who are committed to you for a long time, find any variation of those activities. But if you're waiting for the perfect horse on that carousel to come around, you missed 3, 4, 5, 7 cycles while you were waiting. All the horses are just as good. So I know people who run nonprofits, and some of them are big and some of them are small, and they're getting equal amounts of satisfaction because bigger isn't the point, more isn't the point.
Yes.
And when are there bad ideas? There are tons of bad ideas. I'm not saying all ideas are equally good. What I'm saying is finding a thing that works is sufficient. And that's the challenge. So entrepreneurs, for example, too many entrepreneurs think that there's a prize for originality. There's no prize for originality at all. You should steal a different person's idea. You should bring something that worked in Detroit to Cleveland, because you don't have to worry about apologizing and say, well, yeah, I went to a muffin store in Detroit that worked, so I brought it to Cleveland. So what? What matters is now there's someone in Cleveland who's engaging with you, buying something from you that gives both of you pleasure. And there are so many places where we need more of something. No one's asking you to be that person who invents something that never existed before. What we're asking you to do is choose to matter in a way that aligns with who you want to be.